I appreciate y'all, man. I'm watching and I'm seeing, and I definitely appreciate y'all. It's going to take me a couple weeks to probably re-enter that algorithm like I last was before I took my little hiatus. But my main core and support system is still here, and I see the activity, I see the comments, and I appreciate y'all. Y'all push me to stay on top of my game to give y'all the best analysis and feedback for each game, team, and whatever else that I'm deciding to discuss throughout the week. So I appreciate y'all for that. But back to the start of the season. The reigning champs, back-to-back games, back-to-back double overtime. You just can't ask for more. And I know we've jumped out of the gun because it is the opening week and we've seen some big performances. I feel like Wemby had an MVP performance. I feel like Ant-Man had an MVP performance. Hell, Steph Curry last night was sort of an MVP performance. But in back-to-back games, back-to-back double overtimes, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is not only looking to defend the championship, but he's looking like he is positioning himself early to be a back-to-back MVP of this league. One of the things that's always important in the MVP conversation is the narrative. It is these type of games where your value is on display for the world to see. And these back-to-back games, obviously dramatic as hell with the double overtimes and everything like that. But I think it just shows the value of Shai, because as much as we love the Thunder, as much as we've, given them credit for how well put together they are and the depth and how they can be defensively, they don't have that right now. It's only 2 games into the season, a lot of basketball left to play. Obviously, a lot of bodies are missing. They didn't have J-Dub, Caruso didn't play, Case and Wallace didn't play. So I think early on we're seeing the value because they're not in top tip shape. Last year they didn't have Chet and Isaiah Hartenstein for a while and whatnot, and probably a few more injuries that I'm not mentioning off the top of my head. But I just love the fact that we witnessed their greatness, but in times like this, in certain moments last year and even certain moments in the playoffs, we are still able to see the value of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Because as a fan, I kind of got tired of the theory of who is the best team in the NBA and who's their best player, that's our MVP. I am a believer that the award should be given to the most valuable player. And in times like this, it shows why Shai is valuable. Just like Jokic, when the Nuggets are doing their thing, it's very easy to see the value of Jokic. And there's a bunch of other players that fit the mold. But these examples early on are going to be key, in my opinion. The first 50-point game belongs to Shai. The clutch buckets, the mid-range shot that is his bread and butter, and when his back is against the wall, he is able to deliver. And then on top of that, again, because they're not complete, because they're not in mid-season form, you're seeing instances where it's supposed to get a little bit more difficult for him, because a guy like Lou Dort has not made shots from the perimeter to start the season. Chet last night went 0 of 6. Now, because they're such a talented team, you're going to get added help. And Aaron Wiggins is lively to hit it, 5 threes like he did last night. AJ Mitchell can come in and help. But again, there are certain moments down the stretch when you're watching these games and you're seeing what opposing teams are doing. They're loading up on Shai. They're trying to take away his bread and butter. And they're basically daring other players to beat them. Now, one thing I will say, 2 games into the season, I wish teams dared other people to beat them a little bit more, right? So, I think AJ Mitchell stepped up really big last night, not only as a scorer, but being able to take the ball out of Shai's hands. And for the past 2 games, things look good when AJ Mitchell is on the floor, whether you have Shai out there with him or not. And I think that's an important thing to note. And I think the trust that he's gaining, not only from his coaching staff, but his teammates, will pay huge for them later on in the season when we get towards the playoffs. And again, they also have him on a still of a contract. Something I've talked about on Teed Up, one of the most interesting things about the OKC Thunder is not about all of the picks that they have, but how they're just going about acquiring talent through the draft, whether that is a first round, second round undrafted player, because they are paying Shai, J-Dub, and Chet for the foreseeable future, which we expect them to fight for a dynasty. They're going to have to make the money stretch. And the guys like AJ Mitchell, you see Brooks Barnizer getting early rotational minutes, Chris Youngblood. These are guys that can allow this team to be good or great at an affordable price, because these guys won't command the high money that a Hardenstein is going to command. Case and Wallace is probably going to command a decent amount of money. Lou Dort, all of these guys are now etching into high paid players. But if you lose a Lou Dort and you still have a Case and Wallace, he takes his place and replace him. And again, nobody is saying we want Lou Dort gone or trying to imagine OKC without Lou Dort, but we just seeing how the NBA has gone with the first and second apron. Some guys that you love and that you are so familiar with one team, they sometimes have to leave depending on how much they're prioritizing their market and their bag. But with all that being said, again, my original point, just the performances from Shai 2 games in against the Rockets and last night against the Pacers, I think if we continue to see this, he's going to separate as an MVP depending on how Wemby plays, because Wemby and Ant are right there. But I don't know. I'm just kind of loving the fact that the team isn't complete, that they're not playing as sharp as what we saw them to be last year, and they look a little bit vulnerable, and we're still being able to get these performances. A lot of times teams come off of a championship and they're so good, they're so well oiled, you know what I mean, that they kind of just doing a thing, and it's like, we'll rest Shai because we got a long term. No, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander played 45 minutes last night, another double overtime game, 31 shot attempts. Like, early in the season, we're getting these moments and these, high intensity situations for a guy like Shai, when they easily could just be like, we ain't got to. We could just play Shai 30 minutes, 35 minutes a game going to overtime. We'll see how much AJ Mitchell can do, and we'll just rock out that way. But I do think it's a big help. I do want to show some love to the Pacers because, speaking about underman, obviously they don't have Tyrese Halliburton. They lost Nembhard about, 15 or so minutes into the game. They don't have TJ McConnell. They still came out and performed. I've said it before. I'm going to continue to say it. Pascal Siakam remains the most underrated player in the entire association. That's just my opinion. I just think that people are aware of how good he is. But when you talk about the best players in our game, there are a lot of players that are going to come up before him. And I think he is starting to show that he needs to be mentioned on a consistent basis. Obviously, I'm not here to tell you that he is, a top 7 player in the NBA or anything like that. But on any given night, and you talk about consistency, you talk about the versatility that he provides, and just, all of the ways that he can impact the game, and the difference he's made for the Indiana Pacers. I just think that it gets understated. This is a guy who gave us 32, 15, and 4. You know what I mean? Shot the three, shot the mid-range. You put the ball in his hands. He can isolate. He can play within the offense, play in transition. He can guard multiple positions on defense. It's just not that much more you can ask for a power forward in our game that Siakam isn't going to do. Breakout, I don't want to say breakout, but very confident boosting night for Benedict Mathurin, a guy who, didn't get his extension. And I don't blame any side for that not happening, because the Pacers have to make sure, again, with the first, second aprons, you got to be very sure when you're paying these young players now. And for Benedict Mathurin, you don't want to take anything because you definitely feel like there's more to your game you haven't been able to show. And this is a great position and opportunity with no Halliburton for him to really just spread his wings and say, yeah, I am worth X, Y, and Z. And again, to do it in the first game of the season, and to be clutch and to make timely baskets, and just, be extremely locked in. He took on the assignment of trying to guard Shai in certain possessions. Fouled out, which was a little disappointing. You wanted to see him be able to ride the rest of the game out with Pascal Siakam and try to pull it out. But I still, timely performance, in my opinion, and a great tone-setting game for him the rest of the year. If he can continue to rock out like this, I think he's going to get everything that he's asking for, and I think he'll morph into a player that can really, really help the Pacers as they continue to try to get back to the NBA Finals. Disappointing that we didn't get to see Nembhard. I know a lot of eyes were on him. He did struggle to find his shot early on in the game, started off 0-5, but still was out there being aggressive and looking to make the right play. Obi Toppin, every time the 6 Man of the Year award comes up, I don't feel like Obi Toppin is on anybody's list or his name gets mentioned. The three-point shot did not fall for him last night at all, 0 of 8, but I still feel like he made timely baskets and gives them a different type of punch off the bench, because, again, he can play in transition. He's also willing and able to make any and every shot. He has an ultimate green light, and he's really productive in the times when he's on the floor. He was that way in the playoffs, and he was that way last night, and I just think that, yeah, he's a bit of an underrated bench piece at this point. I think Obi Toppin deserves a little bit more love. Jarris Walker, finally got to see him get some real action and real minutes, gave us 30 minutes of play, 13 points. He was not shy at all, which I appreciated. was very surprised to see the shots and the aggressiveness of a young Jarris Walker, who has not been given too much opportunity to start his career. Last night, he did not think twice about pulling the trigger on those 3-point shots. And I'm talking about high leverage moments down the stretch, fourth quarter, overtime, whatever. He was willing to let it fly, and I appreciate that. Taylor Peter also got some minutes there. And then only 8 minutes from Isaiah Jackson. They played a bunch of different centers. And I kind of like the idea of Rick Carlisle just kind of, not committing to one center and saying, hey, any given night, whoever's playing the best is going to get the most minutes. But ultimately, another really good game. I ain't going to lie. First half of this game, I kind of was like, this is just kind of dragging. It was a little slow. Not the fault of either team, because there are a lot of players that did not suit up for both teams. But second half, overtimes, surefire cinema, and I hope that we can continue to get these type of games on a given night in, night basis. If we get one of those type of games on every single night, boy, at least to start the week. I know some teams will settle out. We'll start to see the bottom feeding teams being the bottom feeding teams, but just give us one primetime game of nail biting, high intensity, high leverage game so we can get some of these peak performances. 55 points from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. We cannot talk about it enough. Switching gears to the second game of last night, the Denver Nuggets, seeing them for the first time, going into San Francisco to take on the Golden State Warriors. Speaking of 50-point games, Aaron Gordon did not see this coming from a mile away. If we talked about the first 5 people to score 50, I don't think anybody would have named Aaron Gordon with 1,000 chances. I mean, just phenomenal performance from him. And if he's going to continue to shoot the ball like this, I think the Nuggets are even better than what we project. He shot the ball great last year, shot the ball great in the playoffs, and now he's bringing it into this season, so it doesn't seem to be a fluke. Whatever he did, whatever adjustments he's made mentally, physically, or mechanically with his jump shot from a three-point land, he's figured out, and it makes them that much harder to guard and to compete with. And that's why I am going to credit the Warriors a little bit when I switch gears to talk about them, because if you can beat a Nuggets team that has Aaron Gordon giving you 50, you're in pretty good shape. Now, we didn't get the debut production-wise from Cameron Johnson that we wanted, but what I will say is I appreciated the looks that he got, and I have all of the confidence in the world that throughout the season he's going to be able to deliver better than 1 of 6 from 3, because he got some damn good looks. He fits seamless. It doesn't feel like a situation where, he was, out of speed or out of touch, or he felt uncomfortable or out of place. It seemed like Cam Johnson has played in, Denver with these group of guys for a while now. Like, it was very, very seamless. It doesn't even feel like a debut or anything like that. He was real good as far as just blending in and being part of what they do. And again, I do have the confidence that he will make the shots necessary for them to win and to be effective for them. But Aaron Gordon, back to him. I mean, first and foremost, I was watching this game kind of scratching my head, because I get Aaron Gordon is not necessarily a sniper. Again, we've seen guys be able to knock down shots and have certain percentages, but they still aren't going to command a certain amount of attention from a defense. I always go to R.J. Barrett, who played for my Knicks and had like a 40% three-point shooting year. Teams still didn't guard him like he was a 40% shooter because, he just doesn't have that badge of honor. Vice versa, when J.J. Redick was, having his slumps at times as a shooter, or Kyle Korver, or any of the snipers we know that has that sniper badge, even in their slumps, they're still going to demand and command attention from defenses as a sharpshooter. No matter if J.J. Redick is 2 of his last 15 from 3, he's going to get a certain amount of attention as a sniper shooter. So same thing with these guys who are the opposite. If you're not labeled as a shooter, or you're somebody who's been streaky, teams will have that feeling. But when Aaron Gordon started off 5 of 5 or 6 of 6, I was looking at my TV like, okay, we might can't help off of him too much. We might can't go under screens. When he enters the ball into Jokic, we might can't blindly double team just for Jokic to easily throw it back out to him at the top of the key and he's knocking it down. I was kind of confused with the coverages that the Warriors continue to play with, seeing that Aaron Gordon was going to be on a heater. You know what I mean? It ain't like he made his first 2 threes and I was saying, no, I'm saying 5 of 5 from 3. At that point, the next time out, we got to talk in the huddle and say, okay, I know we want to game plan and help and shade on Jokic. But right now, let's try to tame Aaron Gordon a bit and see if Jokic is really going to make us pay in one-on-one coverage, which, he will, but the 2 is less than the 3s y'all were giving up to Aaron Gordon. But, hey, I'm not an NBA coach. Whatever. Um, Bruce Brown, Tim Hardaway Jr., Valanciunas gave them exactly what I'm looking for from the Nuggets, and it's exactly why I feel like they have a chance to be a title contending team because of that added depth. Didn't get the performance that you necessarily wanted from Christian Brown from an offensive standpoint. I think 7 shots is just a little bit too low for me. But that's the type of player he is. He's not a guy that's going to force anything. He's not a guy that's going to try to do too much. But I still think that Christian Brown has proved to us, especially over last year and in the playoffs, that he deserves to be a little bit more of a focal point. I'm not sure what amount of shots would satisfy me or whatnot, but I just feel like he is a guy that needs a little bit more featuring, especially when you talk about transition opportunities and some of those simplistic plays, getting him to be able to cut and finish around the rim. That's what he specializes in the most. But ultimately, first impression from the Nuggets, damn good. This group of guys is going to be extremely dangerous, and I can't wait to see them like as a playoff team, because some of the flaws that we knew for them to have, especially last year, that showed up a lot and they were glaring. I think they were able to, manufacture ways to kind of, hide some of that stuff. The only thing that I will say is they don't really have a backup point guard, and I know you can get away with it because you have Jokic and Bruce Brown and a couple of other guys aren't necessarily the worst at handling the ball or initiating plays, but still, we love a true defined point guard, especially as a backup point guard. On the other side, Warriors, phenomenal win, man. Phenomenal win. They are becoming slowly one of my favorite teams to watch. We're only 2 games in. The Laker game, they looked really well. Take that with a grain of salt. It was like, are the Lakers bad or are the Warriors really good? Then they come out and beat the Nuggets, and now you're starting to see the Warriors are a legitimate team, and they're looking good to start the season. I don't know. It's just something about the way that they play. And I mean, obvious it's the Warriors, but these aren't the same Warriors that we fell in love with those years ago with Steph, Clay, and Dre, and then actually going down the line and adding KD. This is a team that just, they play so together. I'm loving the energy right now. Buddy Hield is absolutely going crazy on the sidelines during the overtime and down the stretch. I'm enjoying the early Will Richard minutes. Like, that reminds me of those old championship Warrior teams where it just felt like they could just grab anybody and put them in. And not to say Will Richard is just anybody, because he's earned his minutes and he's playing well with a given opportunity. But I love that version of the Warriors where they were so good. They had such a good system that if you knew how to play basketball and you knew how to keep things simple, you could find a way to be effective and productive on the floor for them. And I'm getting that vibe with Will Richard and Quentin Post of last year and everything like that. So, loving it. Draymond Green, outstanding level of defense he's starting the season with, and I love his all-around game, 13, 8, and 8. This is probably one of my favorite versions of Jimmy Butler that we've been seeing to start the season, especially against in the first game against the Lakers. I love when Jimmy is aggressive. I love when he is, playing bigger than what he is. I think Jimmy is only, 6'7", 6'6", and he'll go up on a Valanciunas, or he'll go down in the paint and get dirty and physical with the Aaron Gordons of the world, guys that are a lot bigger than him, but he's willing to bang down there. And then his playmaking. I think that's one of the most underrated things about Jimmy Butler is his ability to make the right play off of others. And I think he fits this system extremely well with that, and he's done a good job early on. Same thing with Jonathan Kuminga. And the Warriors have kind of, like, I don't know if everything is fine and under the bridge now, but I'm loving the marriage between these two. They need each other and they can use each other, and that's what we've been getting. Not the same type of performance that he had against the Lakers, because he was really knocking down perimeter shots against the Lakers, but still very effective. His presence is felt. He knows where to be offensively. It looks like he is fully dialed into the system. Want him to be a little bit better of a screener. I think that's the next step is, the screening with the off-ball situations for Steph and other shooters like Buddy Hield and whatnot. But as far as the reads and reacting and the passing and fully understanding the situations, there were times in these first 2 games where he got the basketball and he slowed himself down and he got it to Draymond or Steph to recognize the situation that they were in. Some of those moments last year, probably because he had to request a trade to get significant minutes, it felt like he was trying so hard to show what he can do and what he's about. And now it kind of feels like he's sure of his role, he's sure of himself, and he's kind of playing within the flow of the team. And a lot of the times when they are running their sets or playing within their system, he still benefits from it. You know what I mean? I talked about it with the first video after the first night of like seeing him recognize a situation where they can do a split action. And he's the one that called it out and pointed to Draymond and set the screen for Steph and everything like that. When, you know, in previous years, he was the one that they had to tell, wait, slow down, set a screen, do it. He was the one doing it. And I just felt like that was a great representation of how bought in he is and how much they understand what he can bring to them. His young energy and juice will go a far way. And I'm telling you right now, there are going to be some nights where they have to let, kind of like what we saw with the Pacers, but Benedict Mathurin, where you got to let him go, and the Warriors are going to benefit from it. Jonathan Kuminga is going to have some very big games this year for the Warriors, and I'm not talking about one or two. He's going to have some moments where they're going to be like, we're glad we got these young legs, because Jimmy needs a moment, or Steph needs a moment, or Dre needs a moment, and you'll be able to lean on him to help you out in that department. Overall, loving it. Glad that they were able to bring in Al Horford, bring back Gary Payton. Can't wait to see DeAnthony Melton make his debut with this team. I like when he was with them last year, and I just think the idea of DeAnthony Melton can fit here. Veteran, smart players who are super skilled and can buy into the system. Again, Golden State is really, really one of my favorite watches already to start the season. I don't even really got to talk about Steph. Steph showed me last night. I don't want to say showed me, but kind of had me thinking, like, are we building teams wrong? And I know I'm going to contradict myself, and I know I'm kind of like, this might be a hot take, but we love these players who can control the basketball, create for themselves, and like that we should, right? Like, I don't want to undervalue that or try to talk like that ain't important, because to be like watching what Anthony Edwards did against the Blazers shows why that's important. But I also watched this game down the stretch with the Warriors, and to see the Nuggets kind of not always be sure, just like other teams throughout this. He's trying to do one thing and one thing only. But when you have a guy like Steph, who you can put over here, over there, off this pin down, off this screen, he can fake like he's going to this pin down and go the opposite way. And like, you have to, so much attention, so much communication. You have to, are we showing, are we switching, or what are we doing on these off-ball screen? It puts the defense in such a buckle that it's just like, what are we doing, versus like when you're able to just sit as a defense and watch one guy. It's just a lot more easier to guard, right? A coach has probably told a lot of y'all, you know, it's easy to guard. A player who is standing still is very easy to guard. And just the movement of Steph and the attention that he commands, it just made me feel like, man, we need to, like, more off-ball stars got to start trying to be appreciated, or, you know, or coveted, because it just, again, puts a certain amount of unpredictability on your offense, especially down the stretch. And in the clutch, seeing that, you can kind of see the Nuggets be so like unsure of what's going on and how to, you know, communicate and what to do. So shout out to Steph Curry. Always love seeing these performances, the clutch threes, the like what the hell moments. What the word deli is what I tweeted last night. A lot of people like that one. I'm loving it. I'm loving the start of the season. And one of the things that I didn't say with the Pacers game, I think the Pacers missed 10 free throws. Pascal Siakam missed a lot of free throws. And for them to lose by, 6 or 7 points, less than 10 points, I know that they're kicking themselves for that. Again, man, I appreciate y'all. Wanted to check in and give y'all some more opinions, thoughts about the games for last night. You'll probably see me tomorrow and more as the rest of the week or weeks come. I'm going to be on top of everything and just being locked in. Continue to push me and let me know how much of a guy that I am to stay sharp. You know what I mean? Like, continue to let me know how much y'all need these videos and y'all look forward to it. Because every time I see one of those comments, I say, I got some more work to do. I got to rewatch this game, rewatch that film. The people need to know what I'm thinking, and I need to know that I'm on point. Like the AJ Mitchell. I've been telling y'all, you know, AJ Mitchell, back when he was, you know, last year in college, AJ Mitchell, this dude is Pacers, Steelers. Thunder got one. See, Pacers, Steelers. I'm thinking about fantasy football. I'm locked in the NBA season. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I'll see y'all soon. I'm out. Peace.